All right. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Another interesting topic. I know I keep saying that. I'm pretty sure I'm probably the only person that thinks all of these topics are interesting, but I'm going to keep rolling with it. So, this is this comes from an interesting place. I had to learn this lesson personally first before I was able to help other people realize this lesson. But it's been profound for me, and it continues to be a profound lesson that just serves me on a daily basis and in the micro world of the microcosm of my daily life, but also with things, the bigger things that I'm working on across the span of decades. So, what is it that I want to talk about? Well, in a statement, what I find myself saying a lot to many people is that everything that has happened in your life up until this very moment is preparing you for what comes next. So I want you to think about that. I want you to sit with it for a moment. That everything that has happened in your life up until this very moment is preparing you for what comes next. That means all these things that have happened have accumulated and are assisting you in whatever it is that comes next for you in your life. And what's really interesting about that statement is that it's true at all points in your life. So it's true now, but it was also true in your past. And it's most definitely going to be true for things and experiences in your future. It's this really profound mindset shift where you start to look at, well, how are the experiences that I'm currently wrestling with? How are they helping me? What am I getting from these experiences that may actually serve me moving forward? And when you start to look at whatever the experience is, usually challenges and difficulties, whatever the experience might be that you're looking at, you start to look at, well, what could this be preparing me for? And if you're starting to look at these challenges and these adversities as some form of preparation, you naturally lean into it. You might do it unconsciously, but there is still a leaning in that occurs, which helps you wake up to like, okay, there's probably value in this experience that I'm not necessarily extracting that is probably valuable for me to extract. Maybe there's something that I can take away from this and go and use. And you don't necessarily need to know what's coming next for you to want to utilize something and use it to your advantage. It might be something that is completely unexpected, but it is still preparing you for it. And the reason why I like this statement is because it also implies that there is a bigger order, organization, or intelligence that exists beyond our own level of intelligence that may kind of govern or run things when it comes to life. Some people describe it as the universe, other people describe it as God or the infinite intelligence or divinity. I'm not attached to the particular language on it, but from what I've experienced in life, there is some kind of higher level of intelligence that is beyond us. And you don't have to look very far past nature to witness that intelligence. How does a leaf know to grow into the shape, color, and form that it knows to? How does it know to die and then fall, right? There is some level of innate intelligence that exists in nature that even our most reputable biologists don't understand. So coming back to the topic here, the bigger picture is what I'm interested in looking at whenever I'm wrestling with experiences, because we tend to isolate challenges or difficulties. We look at things in a very isolated way, and that's usually because of our emotions. They give us a tunnel vision or a narrow-minded view of whatever the situation is. And so as a result, you can't see beyond this particular moment or this particular point. But that's your emotions trying to get you there. That's you resorting to your amygdala and your reptilian brain, which is all about fight or flight and survival. And so this is an attempt to kind of override that and push into a bigger perspective and come back into your neocortex, the outer edges of your brain that assist you with these kinds of forms and levels of thinking and consciousness. So instead of looking at something as an isolated event, you're starting to step back and go, okay, well, maybe this isn't isolated. While it may feel that way, this, along with everything that's happened previous to this, is all assisting me to move forward. It's helping me go where I'm trying to go in life. And by doing so, you start to look at challenges almost as if they are experiences to acquire and turn into gold. You know, there's texts upon texts about alchemy, which is somewhat of a mystical topic, which eventually turned into chemistry, being able to change the chemical structure or the atomic bonds in elements, which changes chemistry. And we look at the mind and the alchemy of the mind, if you like, where you are transforming your perception of something being a setback or a lump of coal or a shitty situation that you'd just rather not be dealing with and turning it into a gift. You're kind of transforming it and being the alchemist in that sense to completely transform what it is that you're looking at just by changing your perception of it. And so you're starting to play alchemy with the experiences that are occurring in your life. You're starting to unpack them into things that are serving you, that are helping you. And then you start looking for challenges. Well, how might this situation be helping me? Maybe this is a situation I get to lean into. And I find myself doing that on a weekly basis. I'm not devoid of challenges. I don't just like sit up on a cloud meditating away from the world. I've thrown challenges on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis. So my preference is to lean into them and say, well, how is this serving me? How is this helping me do something that's going to come next? In a lot of cases, it helps me serve my clients. It gives me an opportunity to learn lessons to then provide you. If it's not in a podcast episode, it might be an email or a piece of social media content, or even just in a one-on-one session or my group classes. Whatever it may be, I get something from these experiences that I then get to share with other people. And to me, that's a total win. In other ways, it also helps me develop a new form of leadership and a deeper sense of what kind of leader I want to be. So if you think about all these challenges that you've experienced as an accumulation, where you could almost think of it like small waves out in the ocean. And all these small waves, eventually, as they get closer and closer to the ocean, or to the shorefront, I should say, you'll find that some of them start to merge because one wave might be a little slower than the other wave is a little faster, so they catch up and they end up merging. They end up turning into a bigger wave. And then when they eventually crash on shore, they are a much bigger wave that has a lot more force and a lot more energy. So you want to think about these challenges that are coming into your life. They're all accumulating. They're not isolated little waves. They're all these waves that are accumulating that are helping you and carrying you through, not only into the next challenge or next obstacle or the next chapter of your life, but also through that. It's helping you get through it. So you're not being stuck or thrown into a situation where you're trapped and you can't get out of. If you look at those experiences as isolated, then yeah, you kind of feel like you're not equipped and you're not prepared for it. But in reality, it is actually helping you get there and through it, which is really cool. So looking at like another way you could look at it as well is if you think about an orchestra. I don't know if you've ever been and watched a live orchestra play, but it can be really beautiful. And you'll find that when you sit down for a performance like that, usually at the beginning of the performance, all the musicians are tuning their instruments and testing that everything's okay with their instrument before the performance. And you hear what we call is a cacophony. It's just all these different sounds it sounds really noisy. Everyone's playing a different bit of music. No one's really making sense. And you could even then go and isolate each of those musicians and each of those instruments. And you'll hear, like, on its own, they can sound special, but they also sound quite timid and isolated, if you like. But then when the conductor comes through and then gets everybody on the same page, on the same piece of music, at the same tempo, and starts, it's profoundly different to listen to. And that's what we call a symphony or a harmony, where all of these isolated parts are coming together to make one beautiful big piece of music or one big beautiful piece of sound that you might be hearing. So I want you to think about all these challenges throughout your life in the same way. They're all musicians, they're all instruments in their own right, but they're all serving a purpose. And if you take a step back and look at how they could all come together to serve you well, this is the role where you get to step into and play the conductor and actually conduct them all to be working together in harmony as a symphony. And the power of bringing them all together to suit you, to allow you to empower yourself to move forward. You change the game. And that's the truth of it. You are the conductor of your life. You're the conductor of this entire experience you're having. Now, if that conductor comes out on stage and just sits there and goes, guys, do whatever you're doing, I don't give a shit, then the likelihood of them coming together, okay, because they're trained, they may, but I suspect and I've seen that it's not nearly as tight and it's not nearly as profound as if having a conductor lead the way and connect all these individual parts together. Now, we even go as far as in an orchestra, whenever they're performing, every seat has been positioned so everyone can see the conductor. They don't need to necessarily see the person that's sitting opposite them or nearby or around 4 seats away or anything like that. Everyone needs to have a line of sight with the conductor. And that's all that matters because the conductor is what ties everybody that's sitting in their positions together and brings them into harmony. And so if you look at the position that you stand in, if you're sitting back and you're like, I don't really give a shit, you guys do whatever you want, you can't expect to get profound results from doing so. But if you're willing to stand up at the podium as a conductor and take ownership and responsibility of that role and say, right, all of this, we're all going to work together and we're going to make this profound. This is going to be incredibly powerful. Let's do something that means something here. Then suddenly you tap the top of your music stand and then you go. The music or the art or the life that you create for yourself transforms significantly. So this is the framework of thinking I'd love you to use, of that none of these challenges are isolated. The universe doesn't work like that. It's not some kind of random roulette game where the ball lands on your number, too bad, tough shit, just got to deal with it. I haven't seen that the case. What I have found is that all these different experiences in our lives happen for a reason. And it requires an educated eye to be able to dissect what that reason may be, but there is still a reason that it occurs. And it's not random, unless you believe in chaos theory, which, probably you wouldn't be here if you did, quite honestly. You wouldn't be here listening to my content or watching what I have to say about this if you fully bought into chaos theory. So, how is this actually helping you? That's the question you want to ask yourself. How is this particular situation helping me with what's coming next? How might this be preparing me? If you're someone in a position of leadership, how is this particular challenge helping me become a better leader, a more effective leader, a more impactful leader? If you're a parent, how is this challenge helping you become a more caring, empathetic, and influential parent? If you're a trainer, if you're an employee and you're working in an office job, but you've got dreams to go and do something that means something to you, or you're flipping burgers and you want to go and do something that means something to you, ask yourself, how is this particular challenge helping me get there? How is it preparing me and giving me the tools that I need, whether it's a mindset framework, whether it's pushing me through an experience to learn something that I wouldn't have learned any other way? But how is this experience, how is this particular situation, along with everything else that's happened that's similar to this, how are all of these scenarios helping me achieve the thing that I would love to achieve or work towards the thing that I would love to achieve? And when you start to break out of feeling stuck or like these scenarios are happening to you, you change the game for yourself. Like that's the moment that you start to shift the dynamic and you start to empower yourself. So instead of looking at life, all of its experiences, all of the challenges and all of the adversities as isolated events and experiences, I would love for you to start looking at all of them, including your entire life, more holistically. Take a step back. One shingle or one roof tile doesn't cover the entire roof. It's many tiles that come together or many shingles that come together that cover the entire roof. So you want to take a step back and look at the entire roof. Or another analogy is looking at one thread in a rug and like zooming in and focusing on that one thread. In reality, it's made up of thousands of threads that make this beautiful tapestry. So take a step back. How is this helping me? What is it giving me? How could this possibly be a gift? And believe me, that's when you start to change the dynamic and shift yourself out of feeling stuck. Start looking at all of these opportunities as forms of development and personal growth. You'll be unstoppable. And that's what I'm here to create for you. If I can make you unstoppable, hell yeah, that's what I want. So I hope this helps. I hope this provides some kind of value and a different way of thinking of not just your current experiences, but also experiences in the past. They're all helping you with what comes next. And that will be true in your life the entire time. So, with that being said, I hope you got some value from this episode too. Please make sure this helps us tremendously. If you can jump in and make sure that you leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast, wherever you watch it, it helps get the podcast out. And that's one of our bigger targets that we're trying to do. We're trying to reach as many people as we can with this as I continue to produce more content. So if you could take a minute, jump into the review section, leave a review. It makes a world of difference. It puts us in front of more people and helps us spread the message. So thank you again for listening, for watching. My name is Giorgio. I'm going to do what I can to help you navigate life, and I'll see you in the next episode.